Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this tutorial on how to make this great crocheted wrap crop top. I really enjoyed making this top. It was a lot of fun to make and it looks great on. So if you could, please do like and subscribe to our channel. If you have not done that yet, I am trying to grow my channel, so I would greatly appreciate it if you would subscribe and share and like this video. Let's go ahead and get straight into making this. Okay, for this video, I'm going to be making a size 2X, but you can make any size you would like. I will be going over how to change the sizing as we go along, so what you need to measure and that sort of thing. You can use any size hook and any size yarn, and I will show you the measurements. So you just make sure your measurements are right and you will have the right size at the end. So for my top, I have used Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek Low Pill Fiber, and the color is Blush. It's a little bit more pink than it looks in the video, I think, but it's a very soft pink. It's a very soft yarn, and I like this a lot. So I used 5 skeins of this to make a 2X. So if you're going to make a 2X, you need 5 skeins. If you're going to go bigger than that, then you need to go ahead and get more yarn than that. We're going to go ahead and make a slip knot. And we're going to put our hook on there, and the first thing we are going to do is we are going to chain 24. Okay, now as we're chaining 24, I just want to show you the length of what we are making first. It's going to be kind of the top of your shoulder there. So that is the length that we are making, and it's going to be just, we're going to chain up that 24, and that is going to be about 4.5 inches if you're making the same size as me. And then once we get those 24 made, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the back bumps of the chain, and we're going to do a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So you're going to count back, look at those back bumps, and you're going to count back 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we're going to yarn over before we go in there, and just make sure you get in the back bumps because it does make the project look a little bit neater than if you go in the top. So there's that 4th one. You're going to go in there and you're going to do a double crochet. Okay, then we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip 1 and go into the next one. So you're going to yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, and we're going to skip 1, go into the next, and we're going to do this pattern all the way back down, where we are going to be doing double crochets, chain 1, skip 1, go into the next one, and make another double crochet. And we're going to do that all the way down these stitches. Okay, here we are at the end, and we have done a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1 stitch, go into the next, and double crochet all the way down. We're going to chain up 1 and turn our work, and we're going to go right into the top of that first double crochet. We're going to yarn over and do a double crochet right there. We're going to chain 1, double crochet into the top of the next double crochet right there. Go ahead and chain 1, go into the top of the next double crochet, and this is what we're doing all the way down. We do a double crochet on top of the last row of double crochets, chain 1, move on to the next double crochet. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. And that's what we're doing down the whole way here. And we're going to actually be doing this. I'm going to turn one more time. We're going to be doing this until you get 15 rows of like this double crochet, chain 1, double crochet rows, or 8 inches. So it's going to be 15 rows or 8 inches of this exact same stitch. So as you're going into this last one here, you just want to make sure that you don't forget that last little guy hanging out there. It might look a little different because it was your turning chain, so it wasn't you didn't do a double crochet there. It was just part of the chain, but you need to make sure you get in that last one there. And then what you're going to do is just the same thing you did to turn before, which is to it should look just like this, and they're going to be right on top of each other because you're going into the tops of the crochet stitches, not into the chain one space. So they'll end up being right on top of each other, and we're going to do this for 15 rows, where we're just going to at the end of each row, or at the beginning, I'm sorry, you chain one, yarn over, turn your work, and it just goes straight into that top of the first stitch with a double crochet, chain one, and then double crochet. And we're going to do that for 15 rows, or until you get to 8 inches. Okay, here guys is what it should look like after you have your 15 rows. Was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I got my 15 rows. And so the very next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a row of double crochets into each stitch. So we're going to go into the first one and do a double crochet, and then we're going to go into the chain space. We have not been working in the chain space until now, so we're going to go chain space, or the top of the double crochet, then you do a double crochet into the chain space, double crochet into the top of the next double crochet, and then a double crochet into the next chain space. So this will make a solid row. It will not have the spaces like we have previously had. So just keep going all the way across this row, just one row of these double crochets. And so we're just going to do this all the way across in each chain space and the top of each double crochet. And then I'm going to show you the next row here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to when I got finished. Okay, here is my last double crochet of that row, and it should look something like this. You've got your 15 rows and then one row of double crochets all the way across the top there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start increasing on one side with half double crochets. We're only going to increase on one side, and we're going to do it for 30 rows. So at this point, right before we start increasing, we should be at about 8 inches, maybe just a little bit over is okay. And here we should be at about 4.5 inches wide. So that's what your measurements should look like right now. And right before here, we're going to start increasing. And we're going to do that with half double crochets. So what we're going to do, and we've been doing double crochets, so don't get confused. We're gonna yarn over and chain up one, and so we're just gonna increase on this first side, and the other side will be straight. So let's chain one and turn our work. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put 2 half double crochets into that very first stitch. So you yarn over, pull up the loop, and yarn over and pull through all 3, and you're going to do 2 of them in that first stitch. That's the only increased stitch on the row. So the rest of the row is going to be half double crochets. So you just yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3 all the way down until we get to the other end, and that is our row. We just had one row of, and it's going to go up that way and increase. So I'm going to show you guys just another time here. We're going to go all the way down the rest of this row with half double crochets. And I'm actually going to meet you back. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to where I get to the end of this row, and I will meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, this is the end of the first half double crochet row, and on this end we do not increase. Remember, we increase on that side, so we do not increase on this side. That's the only side we're going to increase on, and you'll be able, that side's going to stay straight, and you'll be able to tell as you get a little bit further along, because it will be a little more noticeable which side you're increasing on. So just do 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way down this row. So you're not going to increase on this row at all. We only increase at the beginning of the rows and only on the other side. So this side, we're going to go all the way down with half double crochets into each stitch, but we're not going to increase at all. I'm going to meet you guys back when we get to the end of this row. Okay, here is my last couple of stitches for this row, and what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and now we are on our increasing side. So, and you can see it's starting to turn a little bit, so we're going to do 2 in that first one. So you're going to yarn over, go into that first stitch there, and you can see where that is, looking for the V there. So we're going to do 1, 2 half double crochets into that same first stitch, and then we're just going to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch the rest of the way across. So we're only increasing on at the beginning of this side, and then when we get to the end, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and just half double crochet 1 in each stitch all the way down. So we only increase at the beginning of the row when we're going in this direction, and that will give us a curve on one side and a straight side on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and meet you back. I'm going to increase one more time with you guys. So I'll meet you back at the end of this row. We'll turn and go back down one more time and do one more increasing row. Okay, here's the end of this row. We do not do any increases at the end of this row, and we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we do not do any increases here either, because this is our straight side. Over here is the side where we're increasing, so we want to keep our straight side straight, so we're not going to increase on this row. Again, we're just going to increase on the other side. So we're going to continue with that pattern until we get a lot more rows. We're going to go until we have 30 rows. Okay, so that's where we started, and it's going to look something like this when you're done. So you guys can pause the video here and go back. You're going to go 10 inches of increasing rows, or if you're doing it exactly like me, you're going to have 30 rows of the half double crochet, increasing only on one side. As you can tell, one side is straight, the other side curves in. So we want to make sure that that's what it looks like. So you guys go ahead and pause the video and come back when you're done with that, and I will show you what's next. So now you've made your 30 rows. You have the right amount of stitches. You have 30 rows, or you have 10 inches. And so now what we're going to do is about 60 inches of a chain. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave our hook attached right there, because we want it to come off of this end. This will be the part that wraps around of the shirt. So we're going to chain 200. So right here we're just going to chain up 200 chains, which is just yarning over and pulling through. And I am going to meet you guys back here after I have my 200 chains, and we will get started on what's next. Okay, here we are. I have my 200 chains. It should look something like this, just a really long chain off the end of where we were last crocheting. And what we are going to do is we're going to yarn over. We're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook, and we are going to do a double crochet. So just go right in there and make a double crochet. We're going to chain 1, yarn over, skip 1 stitch, go into the next one, and make another double crochet. So you may recognize this is what we were doing at the very beginning of the pattern, where we just double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the 2nd stitch, and do another double crochet. We're going to do this all the way down the whole length of the chain. So all the way down the whole length, we are going to do that same pattern, and I will meet you back when we get right there. Okay, here we are back. We're back to the where we started our chaining from at the beginning. So this is what it should look like. You've done double crochets, chain 1, double crochets all the way down, and now we're back at the top, and we're going to be going across the bottom. So you want to make sure you don't get it twisted and make sure it's lined up correctly. We're going to do the exact same thing all the way across the bottom there. So I have already done that last double crochet in the chain, chained 1, and now I'm going to double crochet just straight into the top piece right there. So we're really just doing the same thing. I just wanted to show you to not get it twisted and to how to connect it. So you're going to still skip a stitch, go into the next one and double crochet, and we are going to do that all the way down here until we get to the end of this row, and then we're going to turn, and I will meet you guys back when we're at the end of this row and ready to turn around and go the other way. Okay, so here we are. We're at the end of that row, and what I'm going to do now, it should look something like this. You've done all the way down your chain and all the way across the bottom. We're going to chain up 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to yarn over, turn our work, and we're just going to do the same thing that we were doing earlier. That's going to count as your first double crochet right there, those chains, and we're going to go into the second double crochet and double crochet on top of it, chain 1, double crochet in the next double crochet, chain 1, and we're going to repeat this all the way back down, and we're going to do this till you have a total of 3 rows. So we have 1 row completely done. We're on our second row. Okay, and then we're going to come all the way back down for a 3rd row, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to do after that. So till you have 3 rows total, just like that, and meet me back right here. Okay, here we are. We've got 1, 2, 3 rows right here, and now we're going to go on our 4th row. That will go all the way, and we're only going to do down to 65 double crochets on this row. So we're on the 4th row, and it's going to be the same pattern, but we are only going to do 65 double crochets before we turn. So we're going to chain up 4, yarn over, go into that second double crochet. So that right there is going to count as your first 2 because the chain counts as the first one, and then this one right here is your second double crochet, and we are going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet until we get to 65 double crochets. Okay, so you double crochet, chain 1, double crochet until you get to 65. So I'm going to show you at the end of this row and just make sure we've counted correctly. So just continue doing that, but we're not going to go the whole way down. We're going to just go down to part of it. So here we are, we're back. So now I've got 65 and I still have quite a bit left, as you can see, and that is exactly what you want. It's going to be the part that you tie, so you don't want it to be super thick. So we're just going to be like, this is the end. We've done 65 and we're just going to go ahead, chain up 4 just like this was the complete end of the row. We're going to yarn over, we're going to go back into the second double crochet here, and we're going to go all the way back down till we get to the end, and that is going to be our next few rows are going to be just like that. We're going to do 7 rows just like this. So with the 3 that we've already done, we're going to have a total of 10 rows, with 7 of them being just with this, just where we don't go all the way down. So you do 65 for 7 rows. We'll have a total of 10. So I'm going to meet you back after we've done our 7 more rows of this one, just exactly like this. Okay guys, here we are back. I have made a complete total of 10 rows, so it should look something like this, okay? And over here is where it'll be where you started your rows of just the 65, okay? So you did the first 3 rows, and then there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you want 10 rows total 7 rows after that, those first 3. So it should come to about 5 inches. So if you're using a different size hook or different yarn than I am, just know that you want this to be about 5 inches when you get done with it. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is cut your yarn and tie off. And you are done with the front of one side. So the next thing that you're going to need to do is make another panel just like this. Go back, so you want 2 complete just like this. So here is a picture of my notebook of the notes that I made. And if you just want to meet me right back after you've made 2 of those, we'll move on from there. Okay guys, here I have both of the front panels of the shirts. I've made 2 of them and they are identical and they are right here. And so as you can see, this is going to be like the shoulder part, goes down from the chest part, and then down here is where it will be around like your stomach, and to wrap around and wrap and tie, and that's what's going to make it be like a wrap top. So what we're going to do is just lay them out here, make sure that they look the same, make sure that everything's even on them and it's how you want it to be, and make sure they look, mostly that they look the same, because you don't want to, you know, get done and be like, wait a second, this one's way off. So you want to find anything wrong right here. So now what we're going to do is flip it over, because we're going to work on the back. So I want you to just flip it to where, hold it, make them line up right like that, and then come up to the shoulders. So those are going to be, you can make the back piece separate, but I'm going to go ahead and attach it because I do not like sewing it together. So what I'm going to do is start on one shoulder here. I'm going to attach my yarn at the top corner over here, okay? And we are going to attach the yarn there, and we're going to start the top of the back of the shirt. So I just like to put my hook through the end there, grab my yarn and pull it through. And I like to tie it on. Some people do not, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I like to tie mine on, and then I can sew it in later. I'm just going to go ahead and tie it in a knot, just because you don't want your shirt to come apart. But anyway, so you can do that if you'd like. We're going to go straight back into that same stitch, and we are going to chain up one, and then in the same stitch make a double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the top of the other double crochet, chain one, and you're going to do that same pattern all the way across this shoulder piece. So you're just doing the same thing that you've been doing a lot of with this top, which is a double crochet, chain one, double crochet into the top of the next double crochet. And that is what we're doing across this way. I'm not gonna skip ahead because there's not too many right here, and I am just going to show you what to do once we get to the end of this, because we're going to attach it to the other shoulder. Okay, here we are at the end of the first shoulder. We've made one row across, and so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to, we want to go across our back and attach it to the other shoulder. So what we're going to do is go about 10 inches. For me, it was chaining 40. So we're going to chain 40, And like I said, you want it to be about 10 inches. So if your chains are a little bit different or you're using a bigger or smaller hook, just make sure it's about 10 inches for this size. If not, you just want to measure kind of in between where you want your shoulder straps to be and see how long that is and do your chains that length. So here's my 40 chains. And then what we're going to do is yarn over, and we're just going to, let's see, let's make sure, some about 7 right here, so we want to do a few more. I think my total was 40. On this. And so we're just going to yarn over and double crochet into the top of that last double crochet on that shoulder. So you want to make sure you don't get your top twisted or anything like that, or you make sure you have it lined up properly so that you don't attach it at the wrong place or when it's twisted. So we're just going to go straight into a double crochet there, chain 1, and keep on going with our pattern, double crocheting into the next stitch there. And then I'm going to meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, here we are. We got done with that first row. Now we're going to chain 4. We're going to turn our work and we're going to go right back across with the exact same pattern. And we are going to do this for 5 rows total. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this and get my 5 rows, and I'm going to meet you back here. If you're using something different, make it about 3 inches is going to be 5 rows. So go ahead and finish your 5 rows or 3 inches, and I will meet you back and we'll work on what's next. Okay, so here we are. I have made 5 rows total of the back, so it should look something like this. There's the front, and it's going to line up like that, and it's the shoulders, and then we've started on the back. So we've got 5 rows of the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, 5 more rows of that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make 30 rows. That should be about 3 inches is where we're at right there. So now what we're going to do is make 30 rows of half double crochets. No increases, no decreases, nothing crazy, just 30 rows of half double crochets, and chaining 1 and turning at the end of each row, and make sure you get in that first stitch, and we're just do again 30 rows of half double crochets. So let's get started, and then I am just going to go ahead and do my 30 rows, and I will meet you back to show you what that should look like. So this first row, make sure that you are getting in the top of the crochet, of the double crochet stitches, and then also in that chain space, so you'll have one solid row of half double crochets, and then it'll be really easy to tell where they go, and you're just doing, again, 30 rows, and I will meet you back when I am done with my 30 rows. Okay guys, I have now finished my 30 rows, and yours should look something like this. There's our first 5 rows, and then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here is our 30 rows of half double crochets. Should look like exactly like this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go straight back into our pattern that we have done so much of in this top, and that is the double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. We are going to do that all the way across here. So I started out with chaining 4, skipping 1, going into the second one, and double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, go into that next one, double crochet. And you should be very good at this pattern by now, and we're going to get even better at it because we've got 10 rows coming up right here. So we are going to do this pattern again for 10 rows, and so I'm going to go ahead and finish that up and meet you guys back here after I've got my 10 rows of double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. Okay, I finished up my 10 more rows, and this is what your top should be looking like. You can see the front panels up there, the shoulders, and then where we started the back, and then our 30 rows of half double crochets, and then our 10 rows here where we just finished, and those should equal out to about 5 more inches on the bottom of those half double crochets. This is what your top should be looking like, and the next thing that we're going to be working on is we're going to be sewing up the sides of your top. So we're going to make it where we're going to sew up the sides until you get to where the armholes are supposed to be. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to count up to the 11th half double crochet row, and that is where we are going to attach. That's where we're going to stop with our attaching so that we have an armhole at the top. So you're going to start at the bottom and you're going to go up to the 11th half double crochet. I'm going to put a stitch marker there just so that I know exactly where it is. I am not going to sew mine together. I'm going to crochet it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet, and then we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet it to the other side. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to single crochet it to the other side. So I messed up how I was putting my hook in right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started. We're going to not half double crochet. I'm just used to half double crocheting now. We are going to single crochet. We're going to chain 1. And we're going to come over to the corresponding stitch over here, and we're going to single crochet into the front, or into the back, in the front, whichever side we did not start on. Chain 1, and then you go over to the other one and you single crochet into the back right there. So you single crochet there, chain 1, single crochet to the corresponding stitch on the other panel. That is what we're going to do. Single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, attach with the single crochet to the other one. We're going to do that all the way up until the 11th half double crochet row. So just keep going with that single crochet, chain 1, go to the corresponding on the other panel corresponding stitch and single crochet, chain 1 to the next stitch, single crochet, chain 1, and that's what we're going to do all the way up to the top till the armhole where your stitch marker is. And this is what it should be looking like as you get going. Okay, it's going to be kind of look like those squares, but just a little bit smaller. And that's what we're going to do all the way up. And then we are going to start on the sleeves. So continue on doing that, and I'll meet you back up, and we're going to start the sleeves. Okay, here we are. We've done that all the way up to our stitch marker, and here is our armhole. So that's what we're going to do. That's around that is now what we're going to be working into to make our sleeves. Okay, so our first round around the sleeves, we're going to double crochet into each space all the way around the armhole. So I just went ahead and chained up 1 and then double crochet back into that same space, and then you're just going to put 1 double crochet into the end of each row that's all the way around this armhole. So at the end, that will be the spaces that you're going to be working into. So you just go straight into those spaces and do double crochets all the way around, and that is going to be our first row. 1 double crochet into each space around, and when you get done with that, I'm going to meet you back here and we'll work on our second round. Okay, here we are on the second round of our sleeve, and what we are doing is increasing every other stitch. So that means we are going to do we're going to do 1 double crochet in one stitch, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch to increase. So there's 2 in that same stitch, and then we'll do 1 double crochet in the next stitch, increase with 2 double crochets into the next, and we are going to do that all the way around for this second round of the sleeve, and I will meet you guys back when we are done with that. Okay, we are now on our third round of our sleeve, and we are going back to a pattern again that we know very well, which is chaining up 4. We're going to skip 1 stitch, go into the next one, and we are going to double crochet, not whatever I was doing there. We're going to double crochet. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then double crochet in the next, and we are going to do this all the way around our armholes, and we are going to do this for 20 rounds total. So this is our first round of this stitch that we're doing with the double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet. We're going to do that for a total of 20 rounds. So I want you guys to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to meet you back here, and we'll talk about what's next. Okay, here we are. Your sleeve should look something like this, and we have completed our 20 rows, and we are going to do 1 more finishing row at the very end, so you can keep your yarn attached after you finish your 20 rows. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let's see, just keep our yarn attached here. We are going to half double crochet 5 times, so the first 5 stitches. So we are going to just chain up 1 to start another row, and then we are going to half double crochet into that same stitch, so that counts as 1. Into the chain space next is 2 half double crochets. There's 3, 4, and 5. Now once we have 5 half double crochets, we are going to chain 5, and then we are going to slip stitch into the very bottom right through those 2 right there, and we're going to just make a little loop right like that, and then it's going to just kind of create a little edge on there that's going to look nice and neat and make it look a little bit more finished. So then we're going to do 5 more half double crochets, and then we are going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we are going to just slip stitch into the bottom, going through those 2 loops right there, that loop and this one. So we're just going to go into those 2 loops and slip stitch to make that little circle at the end that just makes a nice little finishing row to do around the sleeves. And then we're going to half double crochet 5 times, and we are going to do this all the way around. And so go ahead and do that all the way around. The pattern is 5 half double crochets, chain 5, slip stitch into the bottom, and then 5 more half double crochets. So we're going to do that all the way around, and I'm going to meet you guys back, and we will talk about what's coming up after that. We're almost done. Okay, here we are. We have finished all the way around the sleeve, and it should look something like this. Those nice cute little ends all the way around. I just think it gives a nice little finishing look to the end of the sleeve, and so it's not just hanging out there not finished looking. So now what we're going to do is you're going to cut your yarn and tie off, and you can also do it around the bottom if you want to, that edging. If you would like to do that around the bottom, you can. I'm just going to do mine around my sleeves, and we're going to work on adding a little bit more coverage to the chest part. So this is where you should be at, the sleeves you just finished, and we're going to scoot it over here, and we're going to be working on the edging to give a little bit more coverage across the chest. So what we're going to do is we are going to attach the yarn at the bottom of the chest panel there, and we're going to attach right there at the bottom, and we are going to half double crochet until we get to the top of that panel. Okay, and we're going to slip stitch into that first little chain section just to kind of finish off that row. And that is going to be we're going to make 5 rows just like that. So we're going to attach right here at the bottom, right before it starts the stitches that have the spaces in them. We're going to attach right there, and we're going to half double crochet to the top, and then we'll turn and come right back down, and I'm going to show you guys what that is supposed to look like right here. So here we are at the top. I just want to show you that we are going to slip stitch into that. We're going to do 2 into the half double crochet row that we did, and then we are just going to slip stitch into the chain thing before we continue on. So we're just going to slip stitch right there, and then we are going to chain 1 and turn our work and go right back down. We are going to do this for 5 rows. So go ahead and do this, and this is going to give you just a little more coverage at the front, and we're going to attach the yarn at the bottom again to the rows of where the spaces are. We're going to get 5 rows done of that, and I'm going to we're going to do 1 more row after the 5 rows, so don't cut your yarn or anything. We're going to do 5 rows, and then I'm going to show you what to do for the 6th row, and we'll be almost done. So let's get to that point to finish your 5 rows of this, and I'm going to show you what to do on the 6th row. Okay, here we are at the end of the 5th row. As you can see, it's kind of making it curl in a little bit, which is good. That's what you want it to do. It kind of helps, gives it some shape. And we are going to just go ahead and start our last row. And what we are going to do is we're going to do 5 half double crochets. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we are going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and we're going to do 5 more half double crochets. So skip that one, go into that one, and we're going to do, well, there we go, 5 more half double crochets. And it's going to create those little loops there, and that's going to be for the drawstring in the middle, so that you can tie it a little bit tighter at the chest if you need to. So the pattern for the row 6 is 5 half double crochets, chain 1, skip 1, 5 half double crochets. Okay, so I'm going to meet you at the top of this row, and we have 1 more thing left to do before we are done with this side, and then you just have to do the exact same thing on the other side, and your top is done. Okay, here we are. We're done at the top, and you can see it's made these nice little spaces, and we are at the top, and what we are going to do is we are going to now chain 75 and then tie off, and those are going to lace into each other on the sides. So go ahead and do this on both sides, and you guys are going to be done. So make sure you do the same thing on both sides, and so that they match. And that is it. You guys are almost done, so let's go ahead and chain 75 and tie off. So now what you have are those strings that you can crisscross back and forth in between those spaces, and that creates that nice little drawstring that you can then tie, and your top should come out beautiful and looking like this. And this is a really great little crop top, wrap top that is really fun to make and